Folks, if you're looking to buy a house, now is the perfect time if you do this. Number one, you want to know how much you want to spend on a house. Let's say you want to spend $200,000, $250,000. Well, before you go out there and spend that amount of money, ask yourself, would I like the same house if I could buy it for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 less? If the answer to that is yes, why don't you go ahead and listen, because I have some great things to tell you. Here's how to go ahead and steal a house. Number one, you want to know what the property is worth. There are a variety of ways you can find this information out. If you go to ePraisal.com, that's an E in the front of appraisal. If you go to Zillow.com, go to several of the property valuation sites out there, you'll get a feel for what the property is worth. Another way to do this is do what I call the 5 house. As you're driving out to an area and you're looking at properties, you want to ask the 5 house. Number one, how much? How big? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How long has it been on the market? And if you're driving around and you see properties that are for sale in your neighborhood, if you call up the numbers that are on the sign and ask the 5 how questions, you'll get a real good idea of what other properties in the area are selling for. And it doesn't have to be instantaneous. You don't have to go ahead and know every one, but it gives you a real quick feel. The next part is work with a realtor or don't work with a realtor. If you haven't bought a lot of properties, work with a realtor. Unless you're a acquisition expert, work with a realtor. You want to make sure that you get the best deal. How do you do that? Work with a multi-million-dollar producer. Now you're going to say, but why don't I just go ahead and work with anybody? A multi-million-dollar producer is, number one, going to have more effective negotiating techniques and going to be a better closer and be able to go ahead and negotiate a better deal for you than someone that's only interested in, I want to go ahead and get this property closed so I can go ahead and pay my rent this month. If a realtor doesn't own their own house, probably they're not a good realtor. You also want to work with someone that does this full time. Now, I personally like working with REO brokers. Some realtors, they'll go ahead and sell anything. But a realtor that specializes in REO properties, they work with banks and they do multiple millions of dollars per year. They'll sell, I do one realtor that sold 450 properties in 1 year. He did. Not the rest of his staff, not the rest of his office, he did. Now he had a couple of assistants, but it was his listings and he went ahead and he just sold properties. When you're dealing with a realtor that knows what they're doing, you can go ahead and have them help you. Number 3, don't waste your time. If you work with a realtor, you can go ahead and give them a list of exactly what you're looking for, which areas you're looking for, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how old, and give them precise guidelines. If you need a huge kitchen with a kitchen island, great. Go ahead and tell them that's exactly what you're looking for. When they send over the email to you, hopefully with pictures, you can take a look at this and you can know yay or nay. Now you're going to say, how can I know yay or nay? When you go out and take a look at a house, you walk in the front door and pretty much can you go ahead and say yay or nay within 5 seconds? You walk in and say, nope, this isn't going to do it. Or you can say, wow, I like this, let's see some more. That's what you want to do. You want to eliminate the chaff as early as you can. And so you're looking for properties that meet your needs, and you want to go ahead and have the realtor do this and not spend a whole lot of time driving you out and looking at properties, because their time is valuable, so is yours. And so what I have done in the past is I've had the realtor email the pictures over to me. I have made copies. I've gone ahead and signed copies of the contract, pages 1 through 7 for a FARBAR contract, and have her give me blank copies of page number 1. So all I had to do was fill in the price I wanted to go ahead and make. And when I did that, guess what the realtor had to do? They didn't have to go ahead and have me signing all 7 copies, all 7 pages of the contract. The only thing that really changed was the first page. Maybe a little bit on the weasel clause page or the addendum page, but basically I go ahead and just do the page number 1. She already had pages 2 through 7. The next thing I would do is I would make offers on every property that she sent over to me. I would go to some of the evaluation sites and I'd say, okay, this property is listed for $250,000. I'm going to make an offer for $175,000. I'm going to make an offer for $150,000. I'd make the offer so low that if they said yes, great. The next thing I would do is I would email or fax those back to her, scan them and fax and email them back. And so she would then make the offer to the other realtor, and if the realtor presented it to the seller and the seller said yes, then I'd say, great, now let's go out and take a look at the property. Wait a second, you wouldn't look at the property first? No, I didn't have to. Why not? Because I knew what it was worth based on my evaluations. I had pictures, and I'm not going to waste my time going out and looking at 20, 30 properties when I can do all that within an hour or 2 hours online, and I can know pretty much what the property is. I only want to look at a property after a seller has said yes. Well, what happens if they say yes and I go out and I don't like the property? You want to have an exculpatory clause. It's also known as a weasel clause for the old-time realtor people. This is the clause that you want to use. This offer is subject to approval by financial advisor within 48 hours of acceptance of this contract. This offer is subject to approval by financial advisor within 48 hours of this contract. What does that mean? It means that I've got 48 hours to go out there and take a look at the property. If I like it, I say, great, we'll go forward with it. If I don't like it, my financial advisor, who could be my dog Fido, is going to say, woof, and I'm going to go ahead and kill the deal. Now, why do I give them 48 hours? I don't want them to wait forever on me. I want to go ahead and look at it. If I say yes, great, go forward. What happens if you need more time? Here is where you want to bring in a licensed property inspector. After someone has said yes, after you've gone out and looked at it and you see, wow, this is great. Why would you want to do that? Well, a licensed property inspector, a home inspector, is going to charge you between $200 and $500 depending upon the area that you're in. But they'll always find something. Now, when you have an inspector that says, these are the deficiencies that need to be made up in order to go ahead and approve this, in order to go forward with this. When I do that, guess what? They're just those few things. Probably it's not a big deal, but let's say it's a $5,000 deficiency. Do you think that the seller would go ahead and do at least halvesies with me? If I went ahead and dropped $5,000 off the price and they said yes, is it still worth it? So if you are making an offer subject to approval by subject to approval by property inspector within a week after approval of the contract, is another clause you want to have in there. You will almost always save money by having a property inspector, because if they can bring the price down another $1,000, $5,000 with those list of deficiencies, it's worth it. Even if they don't, you want to protect yourself. Think of this as insurance. What happens if you didn't catch that they had mold? What happens if you didn't catch that they had asbestos? What happens if you didn't catch that they need a new roof? Those are the things you want to look for. Now, when you got out to the property, what you want to do is you want to, number one, look at the roof. You're going to say, isn't my property inspector going to do that? If you have major problems, you want to go ahead and find that out ahead of time. So you go up and you look at the roof. Number one, the roof should be in a straight line. If you have a curve back, a sway back, maybe you have some physical problems with that property. You want to go up and you want to go to the side of the house and you want to look at the line of the house. Is the line of the house straight or is it curved? If it's curved, if you've got some wiggles and wobbles in the wall itself, maybe you have some structural problems. You're looking for stair-step cracks. If you have stair-step cracks, guess what? Ooh, you've got problems. If it has physical problems, maybe you want to walk away from the property. However, if there's a problem and you have the solution, there's no problem. You only have time, effort, and money it would take to solve the problem. If you don't have the time, effort, and money, don't take on the problem. But you want to know what those problems are. So you always get a property inspector, home inspector, take a look at this after the contract has been signed. And finally, you want to have your financing lined up ahead of time so that everything is done. They've already checked your credit. They've already done every test necessary to make sure that you qualify for a certain amount. And the only thing they're waiting for is the address of the property to go ahead and write in the contract. When you have that, you take that with you to the realtor and say, I'm ready to close within 14 to 17 days once we're ready to go. Can you go ahead and make fast, lowball offers if, number one, you don't have to drive me out to the property until and unless someone has said yes in the contract. Number two, that I have all of the offers signed ahead of time, so all you have to do is just go ahead and fill in page number one. And number three, we're ready to close. If I can go ahead and do that for you, save your time, will you go ahead and work with me? If they're a multi-million-dollar producer and you do this with a system, they're going to love you. Now, they might say, hey, we're not going to get this accepted if you make offers these low. Work with another realtor. Say, hey, I'll make 20 offers to get one accepted. Are you willing to do the same if I go ahead and streamline this process so you don't have to do all that work? If they'll work with you, you can go ahead and make tremendous amounts of savings because you make your money on a house when you buy it, not when you sell it.